Hey guys, I am back at HHS here in Washington, D.C. at their headquarters for a very exciting event today after HHS released an amazing Super Bowl commercial related to this Eat Real Food campaign we've seen grow over the last couple of weeks in the policy world. You guys might remember flipping the food pyramid upside down a couple of weeks ago and the wild media coverage that it all received. We then had a chance a couple weeks ago to interview both Secretary Rollins and Secretary Kennedy about the whole milk initiative put forth by this administration and just in general, the push to eat real food across all of our government spending and government programs like school lunches and prisons and the military, SNAP, and so much more. We are back today because new dietary guidelines are coming out from the federal government that are thousands of pages long, but really boil down to three simple words: eat real food, with a very special guest who you may recognize from the MAHA Super Bowl commercial, Mike Tyson. If, like me though, you were too bored and you didn't watch the Super Bowl this year because you just had no vested interest in the teams that were playing or the halftime show, you guys should check it out right now.
My sister's name was Denise. She died of obesity at 25. She had a heart attack. I was so fat and nasty, I would eat anything. I was like 345 pounds, a quart of ice cream every hour. I had so much self-hate when I was like that. I just wanted to kill myself. We're the most powerful country in the world, and we have the most obese, fudgy people. Something has to be done about processed food in this country.
Okay, we're supposed to hear from various speakers today across the board from various industries. I know some members of the military are here. We've got people in the prison system speaking, famous chefs like Chef Andrew Gruel, who I'm a huge fan of, and many more about what we are doing in America to change policy forever so that our kids can grow up eating real food. Let's go check it out. Back at HHS at it again, where the magic happens to make America healthy again. Once I got inside, the room was absolutely packed with people so psyched about the progress we are making against processed food. Eat real food, people. If you're not a major medical nerd, you might not know that this is Dr. Bobby Mukamala, who is the head of the American Medical Association. The fact that the AMA is on stage with RFK right now is a really big deal because it means that they're updating their guidelines for how doctors should practice nutrition with their patients for preventative health purposes. This just came a few days, by the way, after they just changed their guidelines on child gender transition. So maybe following the science doesn't just mean blindly following Dr. Fauci anymore. We're actually following the science. Big deal.
The newly issued Dietary Guidelines for Americans reinforces what science and clinical experience have long shown. Choosing protein-rich whole foods while limiting heavily processed foods that are high in sodium and added sugar can help slow or reverse our nation's growing chronic disease burden, particularly cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and obesity. The path forward is clear. We must champion healthy eating, not just as a suggestion, but as a national priority. We must work together to build a future where sound nutrition is recognized for what it is, a cornerstone of longer lives, better health, and stronger communities. Thank you so much for involving us in this effort.
I said this at the beginning of the episode too, but this is one of those things that's really never going to get any important coverage in the mainstream media because it's not flashy or sexy or interesting. They made fun of the food pyramid when they literally flipped it upside down, and I was here at HHS a few weeks ago, but that was it. That's all I ever saw was a few headlines poking fun at how stupid it was that government bureaucrats were flipping the food pyramid upside down. This is a generationally defining policy shift inside of Washington, D.C., because if we can start helping people understand what they're supposed to be eating to eat real food, that is a national security issue. That's a spending issue. It might help our national deficit and our budget substantially. It certainly will help our spending on healthcare and could totally change our health industry in this country to not be reactive to when we are so sick that we need pharmaceutical intervention, but embrace proactive health instead. There are so many downstream effects of all of this that I'm so psyched about, and I hope that we can continue using our platforms in the best way possible as new media to cover this appropriately, because Fox News and CNN and MSNBC, they're not covering it the way that they should be. They also brought on stage one of the coolest chefs in the world, Chef Andrew Gruel. If you're not familiar with him, he is an absolute rock star, but has been incredibly outspoken about the entire MAHA initiative well before it was ever popular in America. And I actually didn't know, he said in this speech, he also happens to be a city councilor for the city of Huntington Beach, California. So fun little side quest lore about Chef Gruel there. He's amazing. If you're not already following him on social media, you absolutely should be.
You know, I bring a chef's perspective to this, and I can tell you that absolutely real food is common sense. It's intuitive. It's in our DNA.
It's been in our DNA for hundreds, thousands of years. You see, intuitively, people know how to eat. But over the past 20, 30, 40, even 50 years, we've been confused. There's been way too much noise out there. We've lost our relationship with food.
Now, I say that real food is wholesome food, it's nutritious food, it's also sustainable food. But most importantly, one thing I've been leaning on is that real food is also inexpensive food. And I get a lot of pushback on that, but just close your eyes for a second and imagine this, right? You wake up in the morning, 2 farm fresh eggs, runny yolks, crispy toast, whole butter slathered on that crispy toast, some fresh fruit for lunch, a slow roasted chicken thigh with maybe a quinoa and vegetable salad.
Extra virgin olive oil vinaigrette, some good high quality vinegar. Then for an afternoon snack, an American tart apple with sweet and salty nut butter. And for dinner, you've had braising all day long, an inexpensive cut of meat that you bought perhaps on Sunday, maybe a chuck roast, espresso rub, coffee rub, sweet and smoky with caramelized onions, and some, I don't know, making this up as I go, maybe some roasted baby Dutch yellow potatoes. And heck, for dinner, let's even throw dessert in there for under $15 a day.
How about some frozen bananas in a blender with whole milk, cocoa powder, peanut butter? You got yourself some banana peanut butter, homemade ice cream, or just relegate yourself to that whole fat, high protein ice cream. You can eat all of that for less than $15 a day. In some parts of America, maybe in California, it's $315 a day. But nonetheless, it's $15 to $20 a day. And the reason why people say, no way, I can't have that, is because they don't understand food. We've lost our relationship with food. We've been living out of a processed food box. We've been living out of a Cheez-It box for the past 20 to 30 years. TV dinners.
You know, I had a couple that came into the restaurant the other day. They were 96 years old. They'd been married for 50 plus years. And I asked them, as the cliche goes, but I swear I really did ask them this. I said, what's the secret to living this long? And a lady looked at me and she said, cooking your own food. We've been cooking all of our own food in our own kitchen our entire lives. Albeit they come out to eat at my restaurant once every couple months, hopefully more than once a month actually. I'm really trying to drill down into my sales strategy there. But nonetheless,
the reason that they've been doing that, and they've eaten through so many different food pyramids and dietary food guidelines, but what's hilarious is we've come full circle because the new dietary guidelines, they're a North Star. They're a North Star for chefs, they're a North Star for consumers, and getting us back in the kitchen, reestablishing that relationship with food. And that elderly couple, you know, they've been eating bacon and butter and real fats, tallow, no seed oils. They've been eating that same type of food in their house for the past 50, 60, 70 years, and they're 96 years old. I think that's a testament to cooking our own food.
The branding for this campaign is amazing, and I finally snagged my Steak, Eat Real Food sign, which I've wanted for a while. But you could feel the excitement and anticipation in the room. This feels like a really big shift happening in Washington. Then, just before our main speakers started, Kennedy and Rollins, they played the MAHA commercial from the Super Bowl, which I've seen a couple of times now, and honestly, I think I like it better every single time. It really packs a punch. See what I did there?
Well, good morning, everyone. And listen, I didn't have on my 2026 bingo card a picture with a Mike Tyson claw tattoo on my face. But how amazing is this? I mean, really, how awesome is that? I'm happy to announce that today, right here, we are at USDA releasing new guidance for all regional and state directors of our child nutrition programs, encouraging them today to familiarize themselves with the key recommendations and consider how these guidelines and how they will be incorporated into program meals and snacks as we continue to promote and build healthy outcomes and healthy families. This release today kicks off an effort to update USDA's child nutrition programs based on our DGAs and this guidance, including through rulemaking and education. We are working to have a proposed school meals rule by mid-spring, in just about a month, so that children across America can reap the benefits of the MAHA wins that we're here to celebrate today. Please stand up and give him the applause and the thank you he deserves. Our Secretary of Health and Human Services, my incredible partner, Bobby.
For decades, Washington lied to Americans. They told us that real food was no better than ultra-processed food. That claim defied science, it ignored common sense, and it betrayed American families. It justified hundreds of billions of dollars in subsidies for ultra-processed products, fueled by nationwide health collapse that drove trillions of dollars in healthcare costs that now threaten our economy and our future and make our children the sickest generation in our nation's history and the sickest children in the world. Today, more than 40% of American children suffer from at least one chronic condition. Nearly 1 in 5 teenagers suffer from fatty liver disease. We've watched capital agencies, officials, and industry officials gaslight Americans into looking at chronic disease as just a normal feature of childhood. Previous dietary guidelines downplayed the dangers of added sugar, so much so that federal school lunch standards allowed unlimited sugar in meals served to young children. That was a failure of leadership. Parents saw the damage in their own homes, physicians saw it in the exam rooms, and we all saw it in the National Bill for Health Care. We now see the consequences everywhere: rising rates of obesity, diabetes, metabolic disease in our children. 6 in 10 American adults now live with at least one chronic disease. 4 in 10 live with 2 or more. This is not a small crisis. This is the defining health crisis of our time. Today, I extend my hand in good faith to anyone willing to put the health of our children above politics, improving school lunches, reforming SNAP, removing toxic additives. These were bipartisan priorities before, and we will make them bipartisan again. This movement will not slow down. We are restoring common sense. We are putting real food back at the center of the American diet, and together we're going to make America healthy again.
Finally, the guest of honor, the main speaker everyone came to see, Mike Tyson. Can I just observe for a moment that the last few weeks have been the weirdest crossover? It's like the end of Avengers Endgame, where all of the metaverse stories come together in one metaverse. In the last few weeks, I watched President Trump hold hands on stage with Nicki Minaj, and now I'm watching Mike Tyson get on stage to talk about processed food after Cristiano Ronaldo was like randomly walking around the White House the other day. Genuinely, what is happening? Is it officially cool to be a conservative and a Trump supporter now? Like, did we win the culture war? Maybe. I mean, I still think we have a lot more work to do, but this was just crazy.
Mike, why don't you come up
First of all, I'd like to thank the President, Secretary Kennedy, Peter Arnell, Brett Ratner, and everybody that helped me and had anything to do with allowing me to be in part of the commercial for the Super Bowl. And once they were telling me the situation, what it was about obesity, I was telling them my experience that I had a sister that died at 25 from obesity. And where I come from in Brownsville, Brooklyn, is the most violent, poverty-stricken neighborhood in the city of New York. Ultra-processed food was just the norm. Everything was processed food. We didn't have much money, but we had food stamps, and food stamps provided the candy, the sugar, all that soda, syrup, and all that rotten stuff. And that's just all we knew. And the food that we ate was pretty much processed. It was gizzards, guts, and stools and stuff, weird animals. I just wanted to be a part of this because that was such a part of my life. I grew up upstate New York with a master fight trainer, and so he gave me a lifestyle. So obesity is totally out of my life. And sometimes I fool around, I gain 40, 20 pounds, I'm real lazy, but I have a lifestyle, losing like this. And that's why I'm just such a fan of this. This is the biggest fight of my life. I want to be a hero in this particular field because it affects my life. Every time I see someone who may be obese, I have an affinity for them. I want to be close to them. I want to talk to them. I want to let them know that I'm their friend without saying, hey, you remind me of my sister. And I'm just very grateful to be here and fight this fight. It's going to be a fight that I look forward to. Thank you very much, everyone, for allowing me.
And thank you all very much. And the message that I'm going to leave you with, we were able to reduce hundreds of pages of dietary guidelines, Brooke and my teams, to about 6 pages, but it's just 3 words: eat real food. I ask you all to start doing that today if you're not already doing it. Thank you very much.
Oh my God, thank you.
Okay, that was awesome. They just announced, essentially in like real people language, not policy speak in the DC Beltway, that they are releasing thousands of pages of new dietary guidelines between HHS and the USDA, Department of Agriculture, about what food should be consumed for safe consumption in America. But really, it boils down to just 3 words. I thought Secretary Kennedy said that so well: eat real food. I implore you to do that. And he invited all of us to start changing our behaviors every single day today. I'm hungry now, and I snagged one of the steak rally signs, so I kind of want a steak for lunch. No, I'm taking it, please. Yeah. Everybody wants these. They're like coveted gold here at these. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. But I'm so excited to see leadership on this issue here in Washington because truly Secretary Kennedy nailed it. They have lied to us and gaslit us for years that processed toxic chemicals, things that were invented for like engine exhaust, were safe for us to consume and should be the easy, cheap, accessible option for our food. We have poisoned entire generations all at one time, and that stops today. Okay, we're headed home, but I'm looking up what some people are saying about these dietary guidelines, and it is insane. Like, I cannot imagine being so dense to genuinely be against people eating real food instead of toxic crap. Like, what is wrong with these people? The Food Institute? How am I going to hold this? I don't know how I'm going to hold this. We're going to figure it out. The Food Institute, okay, says that this is supposedly insider baseball between Secretary Kennedy and Secretary Rollins and all of their buddies in the food industries that they like. So this stands to benefit the dairy and the beef industries the most, which is undercutting all of the other food companies. Let me just go off for a second. When I was in my master's program here at Georgetown, learning from the top people at the FDA and HHS and the CDC and the WHO, the most alarming thing in the entire world to me was that we do have legal protections to prevent insider baseball within the military industrial complex. It is illegal for certain periods of time for people to leave the Department of Defense, now what we call the Department of War, and go work for major military contractors and vice versa, because it's a massive conflict of interest. No such protections, no such legal restrictions exist for the food industrial complex or the pharma industrial complex here. So literally, like every 5 minutes, it's a revolving door between the top regulators at the FDA and the CDC and all of these people then going to work for big pharma companies and big food companies. So it's all the same people. They just give green lights to their friends and red lights to everybody else. So to have the audacity for food magazines and newspapers to suggest that Rollins and Kennedy are the ones responsible for buddying up to their friends in dairy and beef when this has been going on for decades is insane to me. The thing that I really will take away the most from this event, and I always do every time I'm at HHS or I speak with Secretary Kennedy, is just the shocking, staggering statistics of how many kids are dealing with chronic disease and how bad problems like obesity and autism and diabetes and all kinds of things that we have just accepted as normal have become throughout my lifetime alone. Where we are today in 2026 would have been unfathomable when I was born in 1997. And so it's interesting now as a new mom and thinking about raising my own daughter and the rules that we're going to be implementing in our house and the food that we're going to be feeding her and how we're taking her to the pediatrician and all of these things. I don't know that our parents necessarily had the foresight to understand that so many of these problems exist because of the deep state. We've associated the deep state with weaponization of the justice system or the military-industrial complex, but no one ever really thinks about it in terms of the food that we're eating and the medicine that we're taking and the doctor that we're going to see. And to know that there is massive overhaul reform happening right now so that my daughter's generation does not have to face the same problems that we do with chronic disease, with obesity, with diabetes, with autism, with so many other things that we've just kind of accepted as normal is incredible. If nothing else is ever left behind of a legacy from this presidential administration, that alone would be such a major win and would be culturally redefining for the next generation of our kids. I was also really pleasantly surprised to see the American Medical Association there at the event and speaking at the event about the importance of limiting processed foods and encouraging people to put nutrition at the forefront of the conversations that they're having in medical settings. The AMA really issues tons and tons and tons of guidelines for physicians across the country in giving them recommendations for how best to treat their patients. As we talked about the other day, on a totally separate note related to child gender transition, these medical societies aren't regulatory bodies. They don't get to make regulation decisions, but they do get to provide lots and lots of guidance to the people who are part of the club. So like the American Medical Association works with mostly general practitioners, but doctors across the country to tell them, hey, here's the best practice for how you can best be a physician today. They just updated their specific guidelines on child gender transition last week, and now it seems that they are very excited about putting nutrition and preventative health, proactive measures, at the forefront of general family medicine as well for general practitioners. So it's interesting to me that a few years ago, if you would have said science has the capacity to change and that scientific guidelines can be updated based on knowing better than we did yesterday, you would have been ridiculed off the internet almost immediately. Like you had your medical license be threatened to be taken away if you were a physician. You were kicked out of the scientific esteemed expert community. I can't tell you how many stories I heard from scientists and physicians that were completely ostracized because they kept saying we shouldn't just be listening to the loudest voices, we should be following objective truth. Now it seems that even the American Medical Association that participated in a lot of that ostracization of physicians and pushing of propaganda seems to be refining some things, changing some things, updating some things based on following the pursuit of objective truth and the real scientific method rather than just following the science, aka Dr. Fauci. So I think we're in for a really interesting change of pace in our country.